A billionaire visits his son's grave and finds a stranger crying there with a child beside him. But what happens when he discovers his gay son had a secret life? A partner he never met, and a daughter now standing right in front of him. Richard Whitmore lived in a glass tower 57 floors above Manhattan. At 54, his name was carved on skyscrapers and Forbes covers. The press called him the real estate king. But inside his penthouse, only emptiness echoed. Dylan Reed Whitmore died 10 years ago when his car plunged into the Hudson River. He was 24. Richard had been in Tokyo closing a deal when the call came. 14 hours later, he arrived too late. A white sheet, a cold body, a shattered heart. For Dylan's 24 years, Richard had been absent. Work always came first. Dylan's 6th birthday, Richard missed it for a client. At 12, Richard's wife divorced him. At 16, Dylan came out as gay. Richard's response was cold. It's probably just a phase. Don't tell anyone. Something broke between them that day. Richard also lost his older son Marcus 4 years ago after a brutal argument. Marcus shouted that Richard traded family for skyscrapers and walked out. Since then, silence. Every October 14th, Richard visited Greenwood Cemetery in Brooklyn. Dylan's grave sat under an oak tree, simple granite. This year marked 10 years. Richard grabbed a red rose and drove alone. He had no idea this visit would change everything. At the cemetery, he heard crying, raw, broken saws. He rounded the trees and stopped. A man knelt at Dylan's grave, shoulders shaking. Beside him, a girl about 9 arranged small stones on the headstone. The girl looked up. Her eyes were Dylan's. Exactly. Deep blue, golden flecks. Impossible. Excuse me, Richard said, shaking. This is my son's grave. Who are you? The man turned. Eyes red. I'm Jordan Hayes. This is Maya. Why are you here? Richard demanded. Jordan glanced at the girl. I visit my sister's grave nearby, but I also visit Dylan because Maya is his daughter. The world tilted. What did you say? Maya is Dylan's child? Jordan repeated. And Lucas Bennett's, your son's partner. Richard stared at Maya. She gazed back. Mister, are you sad? She asked softly. Richard knelt, up close. Everything was Dylan. Hello, he whispered. You're Maya. Yes, I'm 9. I'm building stones for my daddy. Jordan sent her to find more stones. Then he told Richard everything. Lucas was my best friend. He met Dylan 11 years ago. They fell in love, planned a life together. Lucas was a carpenter. Dylan was scared to tell you. Scared you wouldn't accept Lucas. They got engaged on Brooklyn Bridge. Had Maya through a surrogate 2 months before the accident. Jordan's voice broke. My sister Elena was driving that night. Roads were slick. She lost control. Dylan and Elena died instantly. Lucas raised Maya for 3 years. Devoted father. Then a construction accident killed him when Maya was 3. I'm her guardian. I called your office 3 times after Lucas died. You never responded. Richard shuddered. I didn't know. Jordan handed him a letter. Dylan's, never sent. It described their plans to leave New York, live quietly, raise Maya. It ended with, maybe when Maya's older, I'll give a dad a chance to be a grandfather. Everyone deserves a second chance. Right tears blurred Richard's vision. Maya returned with stones. Who are you? Jordan answered. This is your grandfather. Your daddy Dylan's father. Did my daddy talk about you? The question cut deep. Your daddy loved me. Richard said, breaking, I just wasn't good at showing it. She held up a pink stone. Do you want to help me build? Richard looked at Dylan's eyes in her face. I'd love to. She placed it in his palm. Warm, real, a promise. Sometimes loss leaves unexpected gifts. A child with their eyes, a chance to learn what love truly means. Subscribe to Heart Stories for journeys about second chances and chosen families. Richard hired an investigator. 3 days later, everything checked out. Jordan Hayes, cemetery worker, clean record. Maya at public school, Good student. News articles confirm both accidents. Every detail true. A week later, Richard found Jordan at Greenwood. Can we talk? They sat on a bench. I verified your story, Richard said. Not from doubt, but I needed certainty. Maya is my granddaughter. I've missed 9 years. You can still be present, Jordan replied. If you choose, I want to. Richard said urgently. But I failed Dylan, failed Marcus. I don't know how to show up. First step is admitting that, Jordan said. You just did. Second, decide differently. Third, keep showing up. I want to see Maya again. Richard said, somewhere safe for her. Jordan paused. I'll talk to her, on her terms. 3 days later, Jordan called. Maya wants to meet. Prospect Park, Saturday morning. Richard arrived nervous. He found them near swings. Maya wore an orange jacket, swinging happily. Hi, Maya. Remember me? Yes, you're my grandpa. Why do you want to spend time with me? Because I loved your daddy, Richard said carefully. You're part of him and part of me. Did my daddy miss you? I believe so. Will you push the swing? I'd love to. Richard pushed. Maya laughed. They walked, collected leaves, drank hot chocolate. What do you do? I build buildings. So you're rich, yes. But money doesn't make happiness. Love does. Maya nodded. Richard invited them to his penthouse to see Dylan's paintings. Jordan cautioned about overwhelming Maya. I'll be careful, Richard promised. As they left, Maya hugged him. Hi, ma'am. Bye, Grandpa Richard. That night, Richard opened Dylan's stored boxes. Inside, a shoebox labeled for Dad. If I ever get brave enough, 47 letters, all to Dad, all unsent, age 14 to 24. Richard read through tears. At 14, Dylan wrote about being gay, scared to tell. At 16, after coming out, wishing Richard could see him. At 18, celebrating art school, but knowing Richard was disappointed. At 21, meeting Lucas, feeling whole. At 23, planning to marry. The last letter, 2 weeks before Dylan died. Dear Dad, I'm calling you tomorrow, telling you about Lucas, Maya, my life, giving you one more chance. Everyone deserves a second chance. Right, please listen. Love, Dylan. Richard collapsed. Dylan was going to call, but Richard was in Tokyo. Richard said, can this wait? Dylan died 2 weeks later. 47 missed chances. I'm sorry. Dylan, Richard sobbed. I won't fail Maya, Jordan called. Before the penthouse visit, come see Lucas's workshop. Richard went to the small bed-stuy space. It smelled of sawdust. Photos of Dylan and Lucas laughing covered the walls. A carved jewelry box read, for Dylan, my love, my everything. Jordan played a video. Lucas holding baby Maya. Hey, Maya Bug, your daddy Dylan was the best person. Kind, talented. We were going to grow old together. I don't know if your grandfather will be in your life. Dylan hoped so. He believed in second chances. If you meet him, tell him Dylan loved him, even when it hurt. Love you forever. Richard stood crying. Lucas, a stranger, was more forgiving than Richard deserved. Thank you for showing me who they were. Richard told Jordan, they were happy. That should give you peace. It does. Richard whispered, and it breaks my heart. But you're choosing differently now. Jordan said, for Maya, that matters. The greatest tragedy isn't failing once, but failing to see the second chance standing before you, asking if you want to build something beautiful together. Jordan and Maya visited Richard's penthouse. The elevator opened to the 57th floor. Whoa, Maya breathed. This is huge. Are we allowed to touch things? Richard led them to his study, walls covered with Dylan's paintings. Your daddy painted this lake when he was 19, Richard said. He dreamed of living there. There was a sketch of a baby. For my child one day. Is that me? Maya whispered. I believe so. Richard gave her Dylan's lion pendant. She touched it carefully. Weeks passed. Richard visited Brooklyn every weekend. Parks, Jordan's apartment. He brought thoughtful gifts, watercolors, star books, warm scarves. He learned to listen, built Legos, drew pictures, watched her favorite movies. One day, Maya asked why he didn't come when Dylan was alive. I was wrong. Richard said, I thought work mattered more. By the time I realized your daddy was gone, were you sad? Every day. But you make me feel closer to him. Maya leaned on his shoulder. You're not alone. Now you have me while you saw him. Richard discovered Jordan struggling with bills, rent, shoes, broken heater, about $3,000. Let me help. No charity, Jordan said firmly. Treat it as a loan, Richard suggested. Jordan hesitated. Richard acted quietly. Prepaid rent, fixed heater, helped Jordan get a promotion. When Jordan found out, he confronted Richard. Why? Because Maya needs stability, Richard said. Because we're friends. Winter came. Richard took Maya ice skating. I've never skated bend your knees. Richard taught. Maya fell laughing. Jordan stumbled more. Dad looks like a penguin. They drank hot chocolate. Today is the best day ever. But Richard couldn't avoid Marcus forever. After 4 years, silence. He called. Marcus, it's Dad. About what? About Dylan's daughter. They met at a West Village cafe. Richard explained everything. Marcus listened, face tight. Dylan had a daughter, he finally said, trembling. You're telling me now I needed time. Richard said. Marcus erupted. You always prioritize work. Shut down, act like a CEO, not a father. You're right, Richard admitted. I failed you both. Now I have one last chance with Maya. Marcus stared at his coffee. The hardest part wasn't the money. I had everything except you. You weren't there. I sent a watch for graduation. I was 18. I didn't need a watch. I needed a father. Marcus paused. Dylan called me weeks before he died. Wanted to introduce me to Lucas. I said I was too busy. Then he died. I never met Lucas. They cried in the crowded cafe. Do you want to meet Maya? Richard asked. Does she know about me? She knows her uncle designs buildings. She was excited. I'm not promising forgiveness, Marcus said, but I want to meet her. She's family. They met at Brooklyn Children's Museum. Maya was drawing dinosaurs. This is Uncle Marcus. You design buildings. Maya's eyes shone. That's right. Marcus crouched. Your daddy Dylan drew dragons for me. Really want to see mine. They went for pizza. Maya sat between them, chattering. Will you come again here? Marcus said, looking at Richard. I will. On the sidewalk. Marcus said she's special. You're really trying. I don't want to repeat mistakes. Richard replied, that doesn't erase the past, but it's a start. Marcus turned. Dad, I'm not promising things will be okay right away, but I want to try. Thank you, Richard whispered. Healing happens in small moments. A swing pushed, a hand held, pizza shared, the courage to show up again, even after failing before. Maya's teacher called a meeting. Maya's been withdrawn, sitting alone at recess. That evening they asked why. The kids asked why I have 2 dads, Maya whispered. You and Grandpa. I didn't know what to say. I just want to be normal. I'm sorry if I made things harder. Richard said, no, Maya protested. I like having you. It's just complicated. They consulted the counselor. Be open about family structures. Teach Maya confidence. The school added lessons about diverse families. Some kids have one mom, Jordan explained. Some 2 dads. You have a dad and grandpa who love you. Our family is special, Richard added. Maya gradually opened up again. Then Catherine appeared at Jordan's door. I'm Catherine Whitmore. I have a right to meet my granddaughter. Jordan called Richard. They met at a restaurant. Why didn't you tell me? Catherine demanded. I learned 3 months ago. Richard replied, Dylan was my son too. Don't take my grandchild. I lost Dylan. Don't let me lose her too. All right, Richard said, but carefully. Weeks later, they met at Prospect Park. Catherine knelt. "Hello, sweetheart. I'm your grandmother, your daddy's mother. Do you look like my daddy?" People said so. Catherine showed photos, told stories. When leaving, Maya hugged her. "You'll come again, I promise." Catherine's arrival added complexity. She and Richard had to coexist as co-grandparents. Disagreements arose, but both committed to Maya. Marcus spent more time with her too. Took her to his studio, taught design. They built a dollhouse monthly. Marcus gave her Dylan's old sketchbook. "Your daddy drew dreams here. Now you draw yours. Maya, you saved this family." Marcus said, "You brought us together." One dinner, Marcus revealed something. "Dad, I'm bisexual. Known for years but never told you. Afraid of rejection like Dylan faced." "I'm so sorry," Richard said. "Breaking. I made you hide, but you're changing." Marcus nodded. "That means something, eh?" Jordan introduced Richard to Dylan and Lucas's friends. Monthly dinners at a queer-owned restaurant. Richard felt uncomfortable at first, but friends shared stories. How they met in Maya, announced Maya. Richard saw Dylan's life, full of love and acceptance. Richard attended P-flag meetings. Parents of LGBTQ kids. One woman said, "My son died never knowing I accepted him." You have a chance. Don't waste it. Richard learned to say my son was gay with pride. Jordan also healed. Elena was my twin. I carried double guilt. Jordan had PTSD, nightmares. Richard offered therapy. Let someone be strong for you. Jordan resisted, then accepted. Over months, he learned accepting help wasn't weakness. "You're not just Maya's grandpa," Jordan said. "You're my friend." Christmas came. Everyone at Richard's penthouse. Richard, Marcus, Catherine, Jordan, Maya. Simple decorations. Warm meal. Gifts exchanged. Maya gave Richard a painting. Their family at Dylan's grave. Holding hands. Above them, stars. Among them, Dylan smiling down. "That's my daddy watching us," Maya whispered. Richard couldn't speak. He held her close and crooned, "This is the most beautiful gift ever." For the first time in years, the penthouse felt like home, filled with laughter, belonging, a family imperfect but whole. Marcus smiled at Richard. Catherine squeezed his hand. Jordan raised his glass. To family, to Dylan, to second chances. The most powerful families aren't built on perfection, but on the courage to keep choosing love, even after everything's broken, especially when it's hard. October came again. 11 years since Dylan's death. This time Richard didn't go alone. The whole family came. Richard, Marcus, Catherine, Jordan, Maya. They walked together to honor Dylan. Each brought a gift. Richard carried a red rose. Marcus brought a letter. Catherine had Dylan's scarf. Jordan held a photo of Dylan and Lucas. Maya brought a drawing of their family. Dylan smiling from stars above. They stood in a circle. Richard read Dylan's favorite poem. Marcus shared childhood memories. Catherine cried, taking Richard's hand for the first time in a decade. Jordan spoke. "Dylan, you brought light to Lucas. Through Maya, that light continues." Maya's voice followed. "Daddy, I don't remember you, but I hear beautiful stories. I feel your love every day. I hope you're proud of me." After, Richard went to Lucas's grave alone. "Lucas," he said quietly, "I never met you, but you loved my son with everything. You raised Maya with devotion I never showed. Thank you. I promise I'll take care of her. I won't fail." Richard left Dylan's watch at the grave. Lucas had made Dylan a wooden watch. Now Richard gave Lucas the real one. A symbolic exchange. Then Richard drove everyone upstate, 2 hours north to a small house by a lake. "I bought this for us," Richard said. "Where family can gather, where Maya can grow up around nature." Maya ran to the deck. "It looks like Daddy's painting." "Exactly, Pim," Richard smiled. That was the idea. They explored. A lavender room for Maya overlooking water. Rooms for everyone. A sunlit studio for Maya to paint. Dylan would have loved it. Marcus whispered, "That's what I wanted." Richard replied, "To keep his dream alive." They stayed the weekend. First morning, Richard taught Maya to fish on the dock. "Grandpa, do you think Daddy's watching?" "I'm sure he is," Richard said, smiling at all of us together. "Do you think he's proud more than anything? You're everything he wished for." Maya rested her head on his shoulder. "I love you, Grandpa Richard. I love you too." That afternoon, they made dinner together. Chaotic, loud, laughing. Marcus chopped salad. Catherine made dessert. Jordan grilled. Richard burned potatoes. "You really can't cook," Marcus teased. "But I'm trying," Richard laughed. They ate on the porch watching sunset paint Dylan's colors. Richard lifted his glass. "To Dylan, to Dylan," they echoed. Night fell. Richard sat alone on the dock under stars. Jordan brought tea, sat in silence. "Maya's happy," Jordan said. "She has family now. You made that happen." "Not just me," Richard replied. "All of us. The day I met you at the cemetery, I thought you were an arrogant billionaire," Jordan said. "Did I disappoint? No. You surprised me. You learned to listen. You changed." "I had to," Richard said, "for Maya, for Dylan. Even if too late." "It's never too late," Jordan said quietly. "He's watching. He's proud." Richard looked at stars. A tear fell, not from grief but forgiveness. "Thank you, Dylan," he whispered, "for teaching me how to love again. For Maya, for believing everyone deserves a second chance." "I'm sorry I'm late, but I'm here now." The following June, they attended New York Pride, carried a sign, "In memory of Dylan and Lucas, love wins." Maya sat on Richard's shoulders waving a rainbow flag. Richard saw thousands living openly, proudly. He thought of Dylan, who never had this freedom. They donated to Trevor Project in Dylan and Lucas's names. 1 year later, Maya turned 10 at the lake house. Whole family together, candles on cake, Maya's face bright. She made a wish. "What did you wish?" "I wished my daddies could see this," Maya said. "All of us happy." "They can, sweetheart." Richard knelt. "They can, and they're so proud." As sunset painted Dylan's colors over the lake, Richard finally understood. It's never too late to change. Never too late to love. Never too late to come home. Family isn't perfection, but choosing love even when it hurts. Those we love never disappear. They live in memories, in goodness left behind, in warmth across generations. Dylan dreamed of a lake house filled with laughter, family bound by tenderness, life woven with art and joy. He didn't live to see it, but his dream came true. In Maya with his eyes, in Richard who found his way home, in their family, imperfect but whole. If this moved you, tell us. Have you been given a second chance? How did you use it? Subscribe to Heart Stories for more tales about love, forgiveness, and families built from broken pieces. Every ending can be a beginning if we're brave enough to try.